Hello there, Mega Visionaries, and welcome to another Megavisions Mega Play. Today I have with me Chris Powell, our editor-in-chief of Megavisions, and there's me, Graham, the designer of Megavisions magazine. Hope you're all well today, and today we're going to be looking at Sword of the Berserk, Guts Rage on the SEGA Dreamcast. Very exciting game. I know this is dear to your heart, Chris.
An outcast warrior.
It very much is. I really love this game. This game is what actually got me into the Berserk I guess franchise, because it's made up of manga, anime, just so much stuff, video games. It is really just a multimedia series, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you got me into the cartoon and the anime, and I really enjoyed it. Although I didn't like the ending of it, but you loved it. I remember that was one controversial thing we had.
It gets the anime gets really dark, and it goes just a completely different direction than I think anyone who's experiencing for the first time would ever imagine it being. But this game, it came out February 29th, 2000 in North America, and later on that year in May 2000 in Europe. I don't remember when I originally picked it up, but I know I picked it up soon after it was released, because this is one of those games that got a lot of attention because of how violent it was.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Guts and his sword. I think it's called a dragon sword. But it reminded me of Cloud sword from Final Fantasy VII. It was just this giant hulking mass of metal. And in the game, I mean, you just cut people completely in half. And back then, I thought that was awesome, and still do today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, the graphics, I have to admit, are a bit dated now, but I remember seeing it for the first time. I think it was actually one of the cutscenes where you see one of the main bad guys in it. Like, I remember just sitting there going, I just vaguely remember that I forgot that I was playing a game. I was just sitting there going, that is so lifelike. I mean, nowadays it doesn't look so lifelike, but I just remember it's like the grip. It's been a long time since I played this game, so I've forgotten all the names and everything. But the main bad guy in the game, sort of really grisly kind of looking guy. Like he's like a town mayor or something. What's
his name? It's Balzac. I want to say his name is.
Wow. Yeah. I just remember there's a scene with him in just talking, and I was just like, whoa, that's so good.
So one of the things, because you're talking about the graphics, that it seems simple and you just take it for granted today, but notice how the characters have individual fingers. This is something that was not very common back then. I mean, this is still when you'd have just a solid kind of brick hand, and you'd have like either shading or pixels that would try to show that there were separate fingers. In this, you can actually see that the models have separate fingers, which is kind of a big deal.
I think that's part of the reason why I love I got so immersed in the graphics before, is as far as I remember, the main bad guy, his hair is like he's got individual strands of hair or something, and then like a beard. I think that's what, like, I was just like, whoa, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, this game, I mean, it came out, I think, around the same time as Shenmue, and that was, I mean, obviously Shenmue is on a completely separate level than most other Dreamcast games, but this game, I mean, it definitely is on par in some respects with Shenmue, just graphically speaking, and I think the hair is definitely one of the things. We'll see that here in a little bit, but I mean, you can see how much blood is like every swing of Guts' sword. It just is a smattering of blood. It's just, I loved it.
Also, just as we're starting the video, I guess I need to send an apology to anybody who is seeing the game. Like, as you can see, the game's sort of in widescreen mode, which isn't the best mode for Dreamcast games. Most people prefer the sort of the 4:3 sort of aspect ratio.
What's up with that?
My capture card, basically, my capture card will only accept HDMI inputs. So I've got this device that converts the AV from the Dreamcast into an HDMI signal, and it goes out into my computer. on my TV, I can have it at like the 4:3, the proper perspective. But as soon as it goes into my computer, it converts into widescreen, and I can't seem to change that setting off. So if anyone knows about the Elgato HD capture device and they know that you can change it off, let us know, because it'll be a big help, because I think it'd look a lot better.
Okay, you just went into rage mode right here, which is really awesome. And as you take damage and as you inflict damage, your rage meter goes up. And I think that's the little green bar at the top of above your health meter.
Yeah.
And I think you can keep it. It drains slower as you attack more people. So if you can like continue to hit enemies, you can stay in rage mode longer.
This is something. Okay, let's go now.
Oh, so I guess it's the okay. No. Okay, I see. So the green meter is your health.
Yeah.
And then when you go into rage mode, your health meter becomes smaller, and the red meter is your actual, I guess, rage meter.
Yeah. I'm still trying to pick up the controls for the game because I haven't played this for a very long time.
And so what I didn't know when I played this for the first time is that this game is set really far into the future of where the manga and the anime actually began. I want to say this is around volume 22 or 23, so this is really far into the story, and it's kind of an interesting place where they decided to choose to start this story, especially when it's introducing many people to the Berserk series for the very first time, because you really don't understand why Casca is kind of I don't know, like she's lost her, I don't know what you'd say, like she's lost her mind essentially.
Yeah, she's gone insane basically.
And so what Guts is doing is he's traveling and trying to find a cure for her. And this girl who he's meeting, I think she's part of a traveling circus group. I think she tells him something that she knows a place where he might be able to find a cure for her. And I think that's actually what we'll see here in a little bit when we meet Balzac. He actually tells the same thing to Guts, which is why he decides to help him. But it's kind of crazy. I don't know how much we should go in to talk about the Berserk story for those people who haven't played it before, but Guts began life as a kid growing up in a mercenary band, and the reason why he carries such a giant sword is he was raised by this mercenary leader. And the only sword that they would give him was an adult-sized sword, and so he was like 8 years old, trying to swing around this sword that was just way too big for him. And he eventually got strong enough that he could wield it, and he wasn't that great with it, but he could swing it, and he just always used a sword that was bigger than him. And as he grew older, he became a really good mercenary fighter. And that's what he ended up doing, is just basically joining different mercenary groups, and he was essentially a nomad, and he just went from war to war. It didn't really matter who he was fighting for. And there was these two countries that are at war. There's Midgard and, oh man, what's the other one? I really wish I would have did some quick reading before this, but there's Midgard and another country that they've been fighting. I think it's 100+ year war. It's really long going, and Guts ends up meeting up with this small rebel, like mercenary group called the Band of the Hawk, and the Band of the Hawk is led by Griffith, this like white-haired, young. I mean, they're all very young. All the members in the Band of the Hawk are very young. They're probably about Berserk's age. I want to say they're probably close to about 16 years old or so.
I thought they might be a little bit older than that, but yeah, maybe.
No,
they're pretty young.
They're in their young age when I would say about 15 or 16 when they began, and they end up fighting for Midgard, I believe. And at first, Guts and Griffith aren't getting along at all. Because Guts is fighting for the opposite side. He ends up defeating this giant hulking fighter named Bazuso, and no one can believe him because Bazuso is this giant, man who's a really good fighter. He kills Bazuso, and he ends up leaving. After he collects his money, he's leaving, and he's kind of going off to doing his own thing after that. And some of the Band of the Hawk are following him and decide that they're going to ambush him and take his money that he got for fighting in the war. And Guts ends up killing most of the Band of the Hawk members who come and attack him. And Casca has to come and save them. And so Guts and Casca, who you see in the game, she's the one who's with Guts and who's lost her mind, who we were talking about before. Her and Guts start fighting, and Guts starts winning and is about to kill her, and then Griffith comes, and him and Griffith fight, and Griffith wins, and ends up basically telling him that if he defeated him, then Guts would have to join them, and so Guts ends up joining the Band of the Hawk, and the rest gets, it gets really crazy after that. And I don't want to give any spoilers. But basically all you need to know is that now the Band of the Hawk, where we're at in the story, the Band of the Hawk is no more. Casca has lost her mind. Guts and Casca, before she lost her mind, were in love together. And so he's devoted. All he wants to do now is find a way to restore Casca's sanity. And he's basically willing to do anything to do that. Guts and Casca have both been branded by these demons. That's what you see on Guts' neck, that symbol called the brand. And the demons are able to track him. So Guts can never really rest because during the day, he's constantly fighting to try to, find a way to bring Casca back, her sanity back. And then at night, the demons come and attack him. And this is kind of what you see right here. Is a demonic entity that took on the appearance of that man.
Well, actually, that's actually slightly incorrect there in this one. This guy here, he's actually infected by the Mandragora, and he basically changed into like this monster because the Mandragora in the game is slightly.
That's right.
Yeah. So as you're talking, the cutscene where the girl and him was doing their circus performance. He's like the strong man, and he was like lifting up some heavy weights, but he falls over and his hood falls off his head, which reveals that he's got like this other face on his chest, and that's part of the sign of the Mandrake or the Mandragora, and they're like considered to be like zombie evil things basically. And they started attacking him, and then he changed into the zombie evil thing. It's like,
now remember that you also have your healing potion, and you also have your bombs and your darts.
How do you use them? How do you use them?
Heal. I think it's your face buttons. Maybe try one of the shoulder buttons and a face button.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, okay, so it's R and then the corresponding button. Cool.
There you go. Now you're in rage mode. So the let me see here. So I think I said this takes place in volume 22.
Yeah,
and so the Berserk manga is actually still ongoing today, and the latest volume is volume 38. And I just got it not too long ago. I haven't read it yet because I'm not up to volume 38 yet. I think I'm still in the late 20s. It's been a while since I went back and read them. So what I decided to do is start going back and buying from the very beginning, volume 1, and I think I'm up to volume 9 or so right now. These are not cheap. Each book is about $15 to $20. That's if you can buy it directly from Amazon. If not, some of them are harder to find than others, and they can cost quite a bit. But the story is amazing. I absolutely love it.
It's disgusting.
I actually kind of feel sorry for this guy here because he just seemed to kind of want just to live, and
yeah,
he wasn't really hurting anybody. He was just trying to be a circus performer,
He didn't do anything
and they
wrong.
killed him.
You didn't have to kill him.
I don't feel any mercy for monsters.
yeah.
I really love the detail in Guts's armor and his suit.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I thought was amazing at the time. Like the way his cloak as well is sort of separate. It waves around. It's like, wow, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a lot of clipping there.
Yeah, you can see the sword just going through it and stuff. But,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so this is the dude I was talking about. And this isn't the scene I was thinking of. There's another scene who's in a dungeon. I just remember it's like a close-up of his face, and you can see his hair. It seems to be individual strands. It's awesome.
I always loved his outfit too. It looks
Yeah.
really, really cool.
I wish you could like still wear cloaks and stuff like these days.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
Was it you? Did you?
And I remember playing this for the very first time because right now he's
I'm Balzac.
the leader of this small town, but you know right from the get-go that you probably shouldn't trust this dude. I mean, he does not even try to look like a good guy.
Run amok. A rampage.
And his name's Balzac.
Yeah, that's definitely a bad guy's name. Oh, I love it in the background as well. If you notice, like when they focus on Guts, you see what's her name? Is it Casco or something? The girl. She's like looking around and stuff. Like even when it's not focusing on her, sometimes you'll just see her like looking around, like looking at Puck. Puck's a little fairy guy floating around. It's just kind of cool just seeing like the side characters moving around and stuff.
Is not sound.
One thing that we should also mention is Guts' left hand right there. So Guts got his hand bitten off while during this big battle, and so he has a fake hand, and it actually acts as a cannon. And so I think you can use that at some point in the game. I don't know if it's available right now. I didn't remember
doesn't
seeing
it
it.
fire his little shuriken things? You can like it's like a little. It sort of goes and like fires a lot of them or something.
It does both. So
Okay.
he can set it up to where it does. You're right. It's like a repeating crossbow type thing, where he has like almost like a lever where he can rotate it and it keeps firing like that. Or he can also set it to where it's essentially a hand cannon, and he kills several different demons that way. It's a really powerful shot. But yeah, he sets it. He can do both.
Shall I proceed with the plan?
He's basically has so many different weapons on him. It's so awesome.
Yeah, he's like a little walking army. Yeah.
So we should say this mega play is going to be kind of a part of a series of different videos that we are going to be doing throughout October, where we're focusing on different horror games for leading up to issue 5, which is our big horror Halloween issue, which I'm really excited about. I love horror games. I love horror movies. I love everything about Halloween. And I thought this was an interesting choice because when you talk about SEGA horror games and horror games on the Dreamcast, many people don't think of Sword of the Berserk. But I would argue that this is a horror game.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to place, I guess, because it's acts more like an act. Most people think of horror games, like especially around this area, as like Resident Evil style games. So, you know, the sort of almost isometric, or you know, the slow moving zombies. You know,
House of the Dead, Typing of the Dead.
Yeah, so anything with zombies in basically.
Right.
But yeah, this one doesn't have zombies, but it has a lot of monsters in it. You do fight humans, but there's also monsters and sort of demons and stuff in it. And it's got a lot of blood, so I reckon you can class it as like a horror kind of game.
I would definitely classify the Berserk series as a whole as a horror. I mean, it's some of the most messed up stuff that I've ever seen in an anime, in a manga. There's some really, really messed up stuff in it. It deals a lot with a lot of demonic things as well. You don't really see them in the game so much, but if you watch the anime or the manga, you definitely will see it. Especially the manga. It's pretty good. The original anime dealt with it a little bit. So they had the first run of the anime, which led up to one part of the overall like saga, I guess you could say. And a few years ago, they released a trilogy of movies, which were really good. But they started, I want to say they started back where the anime started as well.
Oh, okay.
And I think they ended about the same place. But since then they've released 2 seasons of Berserk, which takes place after the anime and the movies. So if you're interested in continuing the Berserk storyline, you can watch that, and it will continue this story. The animation's a lot different too, from the original anime and the movies. It's quite different.
I think it's around this scene here where I got really immersed in it with the guy, because if you look at his face, you can see all the crease lines and like the way his jaw moves and stuff. I was like, that's so cool. Like, it looked just so, especially back then, it just looked really realistic to me. I'd like never seen that
that's
before.
a good point too. Is that it was around this time where we first started seeing lips and mouths that moved that were synced with what they were saying in the game. You know, like for the longest time, it was just a flat face that had minimal animation, and you'd have the voice acting, over that. But this would, beginning in this time frame is when we started seeing more of this.
Yeah, and like sometimes it did used to be, as you say, almost like a flat drawn mouth that would move, but this is actually like the whole jaw is like 3D and sort of the whole jaw is moving, which again is like. As you say, it's sort of around this time. This seemed to be a big thing. It's great. It's just a lot of leaps in gaming seem to happen around the Dreamcast era. I mean, obviously the sort of PlayStation and the original PlayStation and the N64, while they had great stuff, I guess their power wasn't quite there that they could recreate this. So yeah, it just seems like the Dreamcast had all these leaps forward in gaming, and it's just great memories just from playing it.
Look how good the texture detail and everything is on the walls in the background. It's really well done.
Yeah, and there's another thing. There's a lot of stuff in like each scene, like the transparency effects between the jars you can see and stuff.
Wait, I have heard of it. They say that when it's
There's definitely a lot going on here, and this was developed by Ukes Media Creations, and this was from a studio that I didn't really know much about when I first played it. It was published by Eidos, but Ukes was, let's see what else that they did back in that time frame. They did, it looks like they did a lot of wrestling games, Power Move Wrestling, Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling. Let's see, they were doing some New Japan stuff. So after sort of Berserk, they started doing wrestling games. WWF SmackDown, Royal Rumble. They did Evo Extinction. And let's see what they're doing nowadays. Oh, they developed the Pacific Rim game, which was not that great. And so now it looks like they're focused just on WWE 2K games. But they're going to be doing an Earth Defense Force game next year.
Oh, cool.
So that'll be interesting. They did a Pets Dogs 2 and Pets Cats 2 in 2008. I think that was probably on the Wii. And funnily enough, my daughters love that game.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funny. They played that game a lot. Probably aside from it was one of those one of the Raven Rabbits games, I think, was one that they played a lot, but Pets Cats was definitely one that they played a ton back then. And we'll talk about it today. It's pretty funny. We'll joke around, and they absolutely love that game.
Yeah. So I should probably just fill people in on what just happened in the game just then, because it's kind of integral to the story. You sort of brought it up earlier. Basically, he was telling Guts that about the Mandragora or the Mandrakes, which, if you're a fan of Harry Potter, in the second book, Chamber of Secrets, or the second movie, Chamber of Secrets, they have mandrakes in it. And the whole thing is that mandrakes can be used to create sort of healing potions and stuff. And this is slightly different. He's talking about like a mandragora tree. There's like a sort of almost like a queen, which is like a tree, and it's got a heart, a literal heart in it, which you can take, which will kill off the mandragora. But you can use that heart to make an elixir to help the girl, basically.
It's a very cinematic game. I mean, if you've noticed, there's only been up until this point, there's only been really 2 action scenes. That one right at the very beginning, and then in the town square there, and the rest has been filled up with action or dialogue sequences. And I don't remember it feeling that long when I originally played it because I was so engrossed in the game.
Yeah. You do get some really good action bits later on, though. Obviously, like it's not. I think at the start, it's sort of just introducing you to the game, setting the story, setting the tone, introducing you little bits to the action, and then you get some pretty decent, like long fighting sequences later on. But yeah, bringing that up, it's like I always want to compare. This is. I'm not comparing the game directly, but the way it's set up is kind of a bit like the recent Valkyria Revolution game, in that you have a lot of cutscenes and you have very short fights between them. But in Valkyria Revolutions, the cutscenes are some of the most boring cutscenes in like cinema, in gaming history. Basically, you just have people sitting around tables talking, and sometimes the camera angle is so bad you can't even see who's talking. And I think the voice isn't even synced up. So like this game has much more action-packed sort of cutscenes, and it's just they are kind of similar games in a way because they are both hack and slash games. Because Valkyria Revolution's different to Valkyria Chronicles. It's just nuts how like an older game can do something very similar but just do it so much better than a modern game. I wouldn't say Valkyria Revolutions is a bad game though. There are actually some really good moments in it, but they ruined a good game by having terrible cutscenes.
I should say also the original Berserk writer, I always butcher his name, but it's Kentaro Miura. I don't know if it's Miura, but he wrote the story to this as well, because a lot of these characters, Balzac and the girl, from the circus troupe, they're not in the main story at all. You never get introduced to them throughout the anime or the manga, and so it's kind of interesting. And it's pretty neat that they were able to get him on board to write the story for this. I think that was pretty neat.
It's also a bit strange that this game even sort of came out like I feel like it wasn't a very popular, like it wasn't really well known in the West, but yet like it came to both America and Europe as well as Japan. So because it is a Japanese sort of franchise, and I guess it might have been pretty big in Japan, but it seems like these days, like if something's big in Japan, it won't necessarily come out over here. Because I'd never heard of this franchise at all until I played this game, basically. Like, had you at all?
No, I never had, and that's why I said that this game's introduced me to that. And I want to say that the anime came out. It was probably around the same time, but I want to say the anime came out before, because I remember. I must have been looking online somewhere, and that's when I found out that there was an anime, and so I went and started buying them, and I was just hooked. Now this is one of my main issues with the game right here, is that you'd think that with a giant sword like this that the game would put you in wide open spaces where you could really use it, but oftentimes you're in these small spaces where you can't really make full use of the sword. So a lot of times what you have to do is kind of roll around and use melee attacks in these small, because I think you could punch and maybe kick. I want to say you can do that.
Put your weapon away somehow, I think. There we go. Okay, yeah. So I can. I think it was punching. Is that punching? Yeah. I think I can just use my gun. There you go. That's his little shuriken thing.
Yeah, and so those are unlimited also. So you can sit there and just use those as much as you want.
If I turn them around, you can sort of see him using it. So there you go. He's got like a little winding thing on his arm that he uses.
It's like the Dreamcast fishing controller.
Exactly. That's what he's got in his arm, a Dreamcast fishing controller. Look at that!
Wouldn't it be awesome if there was some functionality where you could use that, and it would almost be kind of like the Power Glove?
Oh god. Hold on a second. Let's try and punch this guy. Oh wow. I've never really used punching in this game. I'm so glad you told me about that.
And so, you know, I do remember reading too. That was one of the big gripes a lot of reviewers had of this game, and they knocked it down for that. But if you really think about it, though, it does require you to change up the way you're fighting, because you can't just rely on your sword all the time. You know, it's forcing you to do something, you know, different and change up your fighting style. And I think if the entire time you just use your sword, it would probably get really repetitive. But it can be annoying at times. But I think it was probably a design choice that they were looking at doing that. And they knew what they were doing by putting you in these small corridors and things like that. You'll see it might be a little bit past this point, but you're having to run down or run up a spiral staircase, and there's all these enemies around you. And I want you to try to use your sword and see how frustrating it is, because it's almost impossible to actually fight that way. And so you definitely need to try to change up your fighting style at that point.
Got him. I love this uppercut. So badass.
I wish I had a giant metal arm that could do that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah. As I say, I've never really used punching in this game before. It's quite cool.
So there was also... Oh, go ahead.
No, you use your... I was going to say something stupid.
I was just going to say, years later, Ukes released another game on the PS2, a Berserk game. I own that, but I've actually never played it because I've not ever found a way or got my PlayStation 2 modded to be able to play.
Only.
It's Japan only. It was only released in Japan, yeah.
Whoa, what the hell? Ah! Okay.
Oh, dang.
I think this is sword time.
Yeah, definitely. Use your sword. Or use your cannon. I think you just R and Y.
Oh, am I just falling? Whoa! That's cool.
See? But use it on those guys instead of the little... There you go. See that? That is awesome.
I didn't even realise that was a thing. I played this game
See,
with
he
my
just
sword,
cut that dude in
basically.
half. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Man.
This game's pretty badass.
Yeah, I forgot how much fun it is. It's very simple, but it's pretty good fun.
It's not Casca.
They took her away. These strange men came rushing in and...
What?
I fought as hard as I could, but there were too many of them.
My Casca.
I forget, is Puck in the anime, the original anime?
So Puck is, but he doesn't come until later on.
Okay.
You don't find him until later on. The entire time that Guts is with the Band of the Hawk, Puck isn't there. He meets Puck after that. And I want to say it's probably not too far after in the story that Guts has met Puck. Basically where they're on their way to Elfheim, which is where Puck is from. It's a land or a forest, or I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's where all the elves live. And it's a magical place, and Puck has said that if they bring Casca there, then they can restore her sanity there. And so that's why they're traveling that way.
Little guy?
What's he saying?
And Puck is awesome. He comes in very handy. He saves Guts a lot of times throughout.
Oh yeah.
And I think Guts ends up saving him. He goes to a bar, and these guys have him kind of nailed to a wooden beam, and they're throwing like a knife or a dart at him, and just basically playing like dart practice. And they're about to kill him, and Guts comes in and stops them, and that's how they become friends.
That's cool. I also like, I don't know if you can see, there's actually lighting effect from Puck that, like, on some of the walls and stuff. Like, sort of actual dynamic lighting, as it were.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I remember this being quite a hard street to fight in. I might do my punching guys. And there's some downsides in this game compared to modern games, which you'll find. You don't really have a manual lock on. It sort of auto locks on a bit when you're fighting things. Like when you're using your sort of cannon and stuff, it sort of auto locks on. But when you've got your sword out, you just swing it around. You also don't really have any control over the camera, as far as I can tell.
That's exactly what I was about to say. That, yeah, it's a fixed camera, and so it can get really tough when the AI doesn't want to move an enemy close to you. Like if you're too far away to trigger the enemy to draw near you, but yet the camera hasn't changed position yet, and so it can get really tricky at times to try to figure out exactly what's going on. Now, one thing that you do want to do, Graham, is these boxes here. You can destroy those, I want to say, and there's times where you can pick up items in those.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna get my ass handed to me. Run away! Oh, damn it! I can't.
Yeah, this is definitely one where you want to be careful about drawing in too many enemies. You also can try to go down a like that little step area right there. If you keep them all in one path, so where they can't surround you, it makes it a lot easier because you're essentially able to fight one-on-one. And I think you just destroyed a box there.
Yeah, I think that was an accident. I didn't mean to.
So you can, those guys that shoot those arrows are, man, they're really pain in the ass.
Oh, good, he's dead. I can't see any pickups from where.
So not all of them have an item in it.
Oh, okay.
It's really interesting because he's, some of the colors, it's like, almost looks like it's purple that shines off the walls too sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe try killing or destroying the barrel right there.
Ooh.
There you go.
Ah, there's a guy behind me. Whoa. Oh, I hate these guys with two swords. Berserk time.
There you go.
An open area now, so I'm going to do this.
Make sure to also roll a lot. Utilize your roll.
I can slide, but I can't roll. Did you mean slide?
Maybe. I remember playing this back in the day, and this was one of those games where you definitely have to find the boss's patterns and memorize those.
Yeah.
You'll meet an enemy item get. I like that. You'll meet an enemy later on. His name's Nosferatu Zod, and he's just like this. I don't even know how to describe him.
Oh, is he
he's
the
like
massive demon thing?
Yeah, he's like this giant bull demon that he stands on his hind legs. He's got these giant horns. He has wings. He can fly, and he's just gigantic.
Yeah, he's kind of like a minotaur / cross with like a massive sort of vampire thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's really hard to kind of explain, but you have to fight him, and he's really hard. I want to say that he was harder for me than the end boss was. I remember that, but it took me all day to finally figure out how to defeat him. But I finally got it, and it was one of my favorite accomplishments back then. I remember how proud I was of myself because after that, after I figured out what to do, I was able to beat him really easily. I wouldn't even sustain much damage at all. But it took me all day long. I remember back then. Still remember that day really fondly, just because I was like, I'm going to stay here until I get this, and I just was dying until I finally got it, and it just felt so good to finally figure out that part and get past it.
Yeah, I remember him being a pain in the ass as well, and I remember defeating, I think was the last boss, and then having to escape or something, and I couldn't escape. I don't know why. I kept getting stuck, and then my save file got corrupted, so I never ever finished the game. And it was just really annoying. It's one of those things that, like, I basically completed the game, but I didn't complete the game.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's really annoying. Can I actually kill every enemy, or do I have to just get across the town? I can't remember.
I don't think you actually have to kill everyone.
Okay, or maybe I'll just keep going. Because they seem to be respawning a lot.
Yeah, I think you can just keep going, and you don't actually have to kill everyone.
Die. Oh god.
See, so it'd be really nice to be able to hit like the L button and reset the camera behind you right there, because
exactly.
you don't even know what you're shooting at. Thankfully, it's an auto aim, and so you can just shoot. There's that really annoying archer that just keeps hitting you with an arrow.
Everyone die. Where's that archer? There he is.
And now he's like, "Oh no, don't! I'm sorry, man."
Yeah, I didn't mean to.
They made me do.
Ah. Yeah, the enemies they run away and stuff, which is kind of cool, but also just kind of annoying.
Well, I would too if there was a crazed man with a gigantic sword chasing
maybe they
after.
shouldn't attack me. Who's that guy? He's a bad guy. He's wearing like smarter clothes than the other guys.
Yeah, I think they have claws or something like that. They have like different type of weapons. Now remember to keep an eye on your health.
Oh yeah.
Because you do have a healing salve.
Okay, I'll use it. I forget, can you like upgrade and get better health and stuff? I can't remember how, if it's just fighting.
I don't think so. I don't think you can, but don't hold me to that, because then once I say don't, definitely not, you probably could, but...
Okay, say definitely not then, because that'd be handy if I can.
You definitely cannot.
Excellent. Yeah, it's been so
Imagine
long.
watching just if this was in real life and you just saw this guy with a gigantic sword trying to break these barrels and he's just hitting the wall and it's like, oh.
That would be fun.
What a dumbass. And why are you fighting this little witch lady?
Yeah. Yeah, see, this is annoying. I am basically running into the camera and oh, do I go up here? Okay. But I remember there are some open areas later on. I've just gone around in a circle. What the hell? Oh. Oh, hello.
You got an arrow in your head.
I think I should have put this game on easy just to be able to breeze through it. I have it on normal setting.
Your slide will also damage enemies too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So try to slide into them.
Oh, yes.
So that is a really good way to, if you're getting like surrounded and ganged up on, is slide into a few enemies, and that way you'll knock them to the ground and you can attack a couple other enemies and then kind of work your way through them that way.
I slide on you. I like it when you knock an enemy down and then you shoot at them. You're actually shooting them on the floor. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, there are a lot of nice little touches like that I don't want to say that this game completely innovated and there were no other games that were doing that before it, but you definitely didn't see a lot of games doing it. And I want to say there's also some QTE elements.
There are.
Too.
I vaguely remember this was the first game to have sort of QTE elements, but it's before they were called QTEs, and I think there's only one or two, and they were very basic. So Shenmue is still kind of the game that started all the whole QTE sort of phenomenon, I guess, partly because they actually called them that, and they actually had proper like in Shenmue you'd have like a whole. It would be like an action scene where you're running along, chasing someone, and you like have to like dodge things, and if you screw up, it might change how the scene works out and stuff. Whereas in this, is literally like a boulder might fall on you. You have to press A quickly, and to get out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's been games. There were games that were doing this like years and decades before Shenmue and this game were doing it. You know, like there were like a lot of the FMV games.
Yeah, I guess.
We're doing stuff like that. What is the one game? It looks like it's very animated, and you walk into the castle.
Oh
Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
know
It's like
exactly what you're talking
Dragon
about.
something.
Yeah. It's not the
What is it called?
Dragon's Quest? Dragon's Trap? I can't remember now.
Man. Anyway, that is a game that is similar to that. I would say that.
Yeah, that is basically one long QT game, isn't it?
Yeah. And I remember as a kid playing even in the arcade version, I died at that opening bridge where you're just trying to walk into the castle because you have to jump and you have to make it over because I think some of the wooden pieces of the bridge fall. And if you don't time your jump correctly and land in the right spot, you'll just fall through the bridge and you'll die. I can't remember how many times I've died just at that part, and I hated that game.
Yeah, I've only played that game a few times, and yeah, I don't think I've ever got very far, but it's kind of...
Oh man, you're about to die.
Oh, damn it. I think I just picked one up just as I died. Can I continue? Hey!
It's fairly forgiving with the credits. It gives you 10.
Oh, what the hell? It's not even letting me kill.
I don't remember if this game had any sort of a VMU minigame. I don't think it did.
I'm not sure. It's got quite a good animated screen on the VMU at the moment. It's got Puck doing stuff, basically.
He's a chibi form of Puck, though, right?
Yeah.
Which is something that you see in the manga a lot. Is that he'll go back into chibi form and do some fun stuff. It's pretty cute.
Why
that was the first time I had ever seen that. I had no idea what they were doing with that. Like, this is like a serious book, and then he transforms into this weird baby-looking thing, and I just remember it confusing me so much when I first read it. But then that was just part of the culture back then, and still today, I guess. But
okay,
did you see that one guy with the double swords? I
hate that guy.
He took one of his knives and slid it across his throat, doing like a throat.
I didn't see
thing.
that. That's quite cool.
It's cool because like each of them kind of have their own little personality. I mean, granted, you've only come across maybe 4 different enemy types up to this point, so there's not a lot of variety. And I mean, that's kind of par for the course back then. It was still somewhat limited, but it is still pretty neat that each of them, they're not just just bullet sponges that are there just to kind of get in your way. Like they seem to be giving you quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I'm getting my ass kicked, I think. Do I go in here? I do go in here. Wow. See, I have no idea where I'm going either. It's kind of the annoying thing.
Yeah,
kind of good.
This is definitely one where it was really annoying because you can get lost and there's no map and there's no really indicator of where you're supposed to be going.
Yeah.
You took the easier out there.
All the levels being this maze-like though. I remember some bits which are quite easy to get. You know exactly where you're going and. Oh, these pickups are annoying. It's kind of hard to find the good pickups. Right, you die. Is this where I need to go? I feel like what's that down there?
There's the dog. Yeah.
Oh, I need to find the dog. Is that what I need to do? Find your dog.
What kind of dog is that?
Shih Tzu?
Who the hell are you?
Corso? Let me Google.
Where did you take Casca? Huh?
Not
What
at
are
all.
you talking about?
You're gonna get
Not at all. Do you think it would be if I could Google what kind of dog is in Berserk Gus Rage?
guy.
I don't know who you are, but now that you've seen this much, we can't
It just-
let you leave alive.
Wikipedia just tell me Rita's dog.
Wait. He
What
is not
kind of dog
our
he
enemy.
is?
Type in Shih Tzu and see if
Yes,
that comes
sir.
up as
I'm
like a
sorry.
similar-looking dog.
I was just told
He's
about
just
you
not a
a
Shih
moment
Tzu.
ago.
Are you sure?
Let me see.
It's the girl.
Rita.
Rita.
Ah,
Rita Repulsa.
Whoa.
What the hell do you
You just
think
gonna
you're
take that
doing?
guts?
You blew it! so tough with that big hunk of metal hanging on your back. But you can't even protect one woman. Some hero.
It's pretty harsh.
Do not be mad at her, Gatsu. She was almost killed by Balzac's underlings.
I'll be right back. I gotta
Your
check something real
companion
quick.
is
I'll be right back.
inside.
Okay.
I am Dunteth. Come inside for now. We'll talk later.
So yeah, basically I was just fighting loads of sort of rebels, and it turns out that Rita is sort of part of the rebels, or she was saved by the rebels maybe. I can't actually remember exactly, but yeah.
These ruins have been here for ages. Whenever war broke out, the townspeople always escaped here. Now it's become the hideaway for us, the Resistance. Did you see a strange room in Balzac's castle? Where they keep the Mandragorans? A room like a jail.
Yes. He said they're researching a cure for Mandragorans.
That's a damn lie. Balzac. He wants to use the Mandragorans as his secret weapon. He says he's forcing them out of the towns and villages because they're dangerous and conducting human experiments in the name of research. But anyone who discovers the truth does not live long. Like this young woman almost found out.
Well, why did you try to break into the castle?
We were trying to free our captured comrades. We just happened to see your companion and took her along, thinking she was a victim of his human experiments. To keep the Mandragorans a secret, Balzac forbids
All right, sorry about that.
from leaving this town.
What's this goon talking about?
He's basically explaining how Balzac's actually a bad guy, and
Once you enter the town,
Oh, really?
never
the sort of jail that you were fighting in originally,
taste alive.
he was like
Oh.
basically experimenting on them, on the Mandragora people.
We have lived on this land since ancient times. This town, being so close to the border, has been occupied by many nations and armies as a strategic
And yeah, they're
base.
walking down a
Each
spiral
time
staircase, which I think is the one you
takes
mentioned
over.
earlier. Like
That
it's
is the
really
one.
hard to
Yep.
fight.
Yeah.
Balzac. Was he like that too?
Yeah, I wonder why they chose to have quite narrow areas.
His enemies feared him like a monster, and he did not oppress us.
Because they do have big open areas as well, but as you say, there are quite
Yeah,
a lot
because
of narrow.
there was a new Berserk game that was released on the Vita and PS4 not too long ago,
Turned into a
and
tyrant.
it's basically a man, what is it? Not like Destiny. Why I keep saying Destiny Heroes,
She's in
but
a room below. I will show you the way, friend.
Dynasty
Berserk.
Warriors? Is that what you're trying to go for?
say that again. Destiny Heroes.
Dynasty Warriors.
Dynasty.
We say
There you
Dynasty.
go. I couldn't even comprehend the way you were saying it. It made no
Sorry. Dynasty Warriors.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So yes, it's made by the people that did Dynasty Warriors.
What the hell? Oh,
Right?
there's
So it's a
ghosts.
much more open, like game, and I think it plays into the strengths of Guts' character and kind of what he does a lot better than this game did. Whereas like you're on these just giant battlefields and you're able to just attack 10 enemies in one blow, and I think it does a lot better job at kind of showcasing
Oh, that's cool.
how strong and powerful Guts is. Yeah, you're getting wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Clearly
can too.
Take that. Yeah, I'm not so good at this game, I think.
It's a lot of moving and then re-engaging. Like it's not your typical just brawler where you just stand in front of enemies and just swing your sword. Like you and it's like re-engaging. It's not the easiest, but once you kind of get the hang of how to work in battle, like it's not nearly as hard as what it seems like. You're just kind of getting used to the gameplay and the way the battles work.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh, do I need to go? What's here? Run away! Oh, this is not going to be fun. Okay, I'm going to change to punching mode. I'm going to punch a ghost in his face.
Oh, yeah, here you go. This is the one I want you to actually try to use your sword.
Okay.
Because it's just a lot of this. Now,
Yeah.
you can engage. That's the thing that's weird. If you engage rage mode, you won't. It won't knock against the wall like that. You'll just swing through the wall, and it won't. Yeah.
Can you manually engage rage mode, or is it only automatic? Because so far
I
it's
don't
only
think you
automatic.
can. I think you have to wait until it gets full.
That's it. I think they keep doing this thing where they knock me down. It's weird.
They're kicking you in the nuts.
I think that's what they're doing. It's like I sort of run along and suddenly they grab me and then I fall on the floor.
Can you slide down the stairs?
Sort of. We can just do that.
Imagine how much that would hurt on stone stairs. You're just like.
Can you do jump? Yeah, you can do jump strikes. That's pretty cool.
That probably would have worked a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it's a jump strike rather than swinging sideways.
Okay, this is annoying. I can't always turn around properly. Ah! I didn't mean to fall off the stairs just then. Yeah, and when you try to do the fire thing, like when he shoots your little shurikens, once he gets into a locked position, he kind of doesn't change out of it. It's kind of hard to do that.
But it looks like you can turn him though. Like as you start engaging into that that firing thing, it looks like you can turn.
Oh, okay, I'll try that next time. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, his sword doesn't like. I can feel him sort of hitting the wall, but yeah, as you say, he doesn't kind of bounce back off the wall.
Right.
He does
So you're
normally.
just kicking ass.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, I guess that is kind of, as you say, it's a mechanic they actually implemented deliberately. So you have to change his fighting
What
style.
the hell are those things?
Is Casca up ahead?
Yes. She's
This
down
guy kind of looks
below.
like Aragorn
This way.
in the Lord of the Rings animated movie, like from the late 70s.
Oh my god, he is! Yes! Yeah, if anyone's seen that, it's the funniest movie because it's so bad.
I remember hating the way they made him look. I thought he looked like such a doofus. But I did think it was neat the way that they I forget the name of the technique that they used, but they basically shot live action sequences and animated over them. Like they
Yeah.
animated the eyes and the mouths and different things like that, and it gave it a really unique look.
Yeah, I remember the orcs were like kind of shadowy figures, but they were actually like real people dressed up as orcs or something. But it's like their shadows, the silhouettes you could see.
Going to Mandragora Village.
Yeah, it was really weird.
But
But
do-
it was like I said, it's really unique.
Do you remember the fact that the movie only covered the first two books, and it's kind of like at the very end, I think it's Gandalf like throws his sword in the air and it freeze frames. It's like, and it's like the text comes up. I'm pretty sure it's basically just like there are many more adventures and the good guys won.
In his castle.
It's like,
It's like, fuck, this is way too hard. What were we thinking? Let's just end it here.
it's basically what they did. It was
have
really
no
funny.
proof he's telling the
I
truth.
watched it with my friend a few years back, and we were just like sat there and that's the best ending to any movie.
But
But this one is just they throw that baby in the air and it's just over.
Just as he says.
And then Guts throws the sword through it.
Need him.
Yeah.
No one wants a magic baby anyway.
That may well be
But-
true.
Did you see the close up of
just
the baby
can't
just a
accept
second ago? Like when you like that was really good like detail
How
again.
can we
Like,
rely on one
they seem
man
to
who
like
oppresses
the
us?
mandragora and stuff in his face and everything.
This town of ours, its bricks are the bones of our ancestors.
it's kind of weird. Some of the characters like her look really basic. Although you do see, as you say, you can see all of her fingers are separate, which is kind of cool.
But I remember that was a big deal. I remember in game magazines, that would, like, the journalists would write about it. Like, they have individual fingers. It's, you know, I remember reading it. I was like, oh my gosh, look at these graphics. You can see their fingers.
Yeah.
This is so awesome. It's going to be the best game ever. But that was kind of a turning point in games where you knew that the games were getting more like better because they were able to start doing these graphical things that up until that point were impossible.
Yeah, and a lot of the Dreamcast sort of games were they used the in-game graphics for the cutscenes as this game does, which sort of showed that like the animation stuff was good enough that they could do these cinematic events. Whereas, you know, before that, PlayStation, N64, Sega Saturn. Like, if they had in-game graphics, it was very basic animation. You know, they could show people like fighting and stuff, but close-up shots you couldn't really show voice acting and fingers, individual fingers. So they had to have FMV a lot.
I want to say too that there were still some Dreamcast games that didn't have full fingers like this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say all the Dreamcast games had that. There's quite a lot. God, what's that? There's a game.
I want to say some games didn't. Which that probably would have been a lot harder to do. Have all these different models on the screen because you're thinking you have at least 22 football players on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
Right, and so you're having to recreate all these different models, animate them, and do, you know, all sorts of the different animations and just them running dynamically. I think that would have been a lot harder to do. Whereas a game like this, you have a few different characters on screen at any given time that you're able to put a lot more polygons in each character model, which is one of the things that you're able to do with a game that you can kind of have a smaller focus of how many characters that represent on screen at any given time.
And I remember Resident Evil Code Veronica. The first time I played that, the game mixes between CGI and in-game graphics. And I can vaguely remember the very opening. They had like a CGI bit at the very, very beginning, and then they had a cutscene involving in-game graphics. And there's a bit at the very start where like they have the cutscene ends, and I just remember standing there, and so you just got like Claire standing there, and I didn't do anything. I was like, oh no, the game's broken, because she was just standing there, and then I suddenly realised it's in the game. I was like, oh my god, like, the graphics were like so good. Like for the cutscene, it just looked like a CGI cutscene. So I thought the cutscene was still going, but it was actually in-game graphics. I was like, holy crap! It's like right at the beginning where you're like stuck in a cell basically or something, and yeah, I just remember that blew my mind. I was like, whoa, I've never seen that before. Like, just the visuals look so good.
I love that game.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to go back and play them now because the gameplay has just not held up very well at all.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward, I guess. But I think Code Veronica is possibly my favourite Resident Evil. Like the first one and Code Veronica are my two favourites by far still.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me. I liked Resident Evil 2. I didn't play Resident Evil 3 that much, but I did play Code Veronica quite a bit when it came out. I never beat it though.
I think that's another game I got to the last boss and didn't finish it. It's like I went through a lot of phases, especially during the Dreamcast era, that I played games almost to completion and then never finished them. Like I could tell you like what the last boss is and stuff, and I don't remember the ending, so I feel like I didn't finish the game.
You also in the manga you see Puck's penis quite a lot, which thankfully this game doesn't. That would be so funny if the marketing of this game was like we have fingers and also penises. That we have individual penises.
Wow. That is pretty funny actually. Maybe they couldn't get the animation of it right, so they thought let's just not do it.
They could only animate like the 10 digits, like they couldn't do 11 for a penis. And they're like we could either have a fully erect penis or we could have 10 digits for fingers.
It's the young lady from before.
Why Puck would have a full erection, I don't know, but
He's just happy to see guts.
I guess so. Or mandragoras.
Yeah. Or both. Or all three. Whoa. What the hell's that?
It's a boomer.
It does look a bit like a boomer, actually, yeah.
His nose is a face, though.
Yeah.
Looks like the nose is a man's face.
I think it was like a bear.
What is behind you? Oh my god, it's like a dog with a trap face.
Yeah, it's barking as well. Oh, that's freaky.
So I can't hear. I'm not hearing any of your audio.
Oh, okay, yeah. I forgot about that. With my sound catcher, Chris can't actually hear me.
Well, I can hear you, but I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We'd been doing an excellent conversation if you couldn't hear me. I forgot that. Oh, you can't hear it just then, but those weird sort of chickeny type things, this thing I'm hitting now, they make the weirdest sound when they die. They're like, ooh! I remember that freaking me out when I first played the game.
Sounds like you when you're climaxing. What the hell? These are some really crazy models. These...
They've got like two faces and stuff. It's freaky. I can't get out. That and that. Oh, that one got cut in half. It's weird. You don't cut things in half that often, but when it happens, it's pretty cool.
I want to get a good look at these.
Oh, really? Okay. I will
see this. This would be an interesting game if there was a gallery outside of the main game where you can look at all the different character models, because these are really interesting looking.
Yeah, because a lot of games do that these days, don't they? They have the character models and stuff.
Because I'd like to be able to see that bear, because it looks like, I don't know if it's supposed to be his nose and mouth, but it looks like where his nose and mouth is, it looks like another face.
Yeah, I got a feeling it might be though, because some of them do have two faces. Oh yeah, cutting in half again.
You're getting good at that. What is that thing supposed to be?
I don't know. They kind of look like giant chickens to me.
But they look like they almost have like tree wings.
Yeah, I don't know. Where did we go?
Gus is probably like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh, I'm going this way, I think.
It's like a big ostrich type thing.
Yeah, it's...
But he has two faces too.
Yeah.
But it does look like his wings are tree branches.
Yeah, it's nuts. And his legs actually look kind of human legs. Is he dead? Okay, cool. Oh, press Y! Ah! So yeah, that's like one of the QTE things. They only happen a few times in the game as far as I remember. Oh, the music's just pumped up. Whoa! That's weird. It's like doing this all this sort of music, and now it's like dun 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 dun.
I wish I could hear the music.
Yeah, maybe you should.
I bet it's awesome. See, this is a neat location, because the environments are all very different. Because you were in a town square. You were outside. Well, originally you were outside that little mountain area. Then you went to the town square. Then you went to a dungeon, and then you were outside again into the city. Then you went into the cemetery, and now you're out in this like forest wooded area. There's a lot of variety to the different environments. And why are these frogs attacking you?
They're really hard to hit. Those frogs would scare the hell out of me if I saw them.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I would run so bad.
Look at them.
I can't imagine there's that much blood in them either. They're very small. It's like a geyser of blood. I am gonna have to go here in a little bit.
Oh no, you're kidding me.
I know. We've been playing for probably over an hour.
I think it's probably about an hour and 10.
Our idea was that we were gonna play a game for about 20 to 30 minutes and move on and keep these relatively short, but I think with this game it takes so long to really get into it. There's so many animated scenes at the very beginning and cutscenes that if we were to cut it off at 20 or even 30 minutes, you wouldn't have even really seen much of the game.
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen me fighting dogs and frogs.
Dogs and frogs and bogs. In bogs. Dogs and frogs in bogs.
I'm sure there must be a better way to play, like a more finesseful way to play this game other than me just like tapping A and X as much as possible.
Oh, what an asshole! Let's B.
Yeah.
Press B, Graham.
I got him.
You did it.
I can't remember what happens if you fail that. Do you die or do you go onto a different bit of the level?
I think that there's alternate paths. So I think you might have fallen down in there, but you continue it in a different path.
Yeah, because I kind of feel like I did that the first time. I just didn't expect it. I was like, ah, and just fell. And yeah, I think I did keep fighting in a different area, but it's been a while.
But I'll send you back where you
So how long do you have left, Chris?
About 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll try and finish this level in 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's finish this level and then we can wrap up.
Yeah. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the magazine before we wrap up?
Yeah, let's do that. So we should be having. So this is going to come out in sometime October. The plan is for issue 5 to release right before Halloween. Sword of Berserk is going to be on our cover. I'm going to be reviewing the game. I'm really looking forward to it because it's been a while since I've gotten back into Berserk. Watching this video has brought back a lot of memories, and it's got me really excited to go back and play it again. But aside from that, we're going to have a lot of other reviews of horror games back on the Master System, Genesis, Saturn, Dreamcast. Our friend Tom from the Dreamcast Junkyard has also written 3 or 4 reviews that are going to be in this next issue.
Yeah.
So we're going to have lots of really, really fun content in this one. I'm really excited.
And the great thing about Tom's stuff is they're actually new Dreamcast games that are coming out this year, and some of them haven't been released yet. Tom's a great guy. He managed to get some early copies of the games. So they're brand new Dreamcast games, basically. They are, as far as I can tell, they are actually all ports of other games, but they're done really well, and they are official releases. It's not like just an indie game. It's they're actually retail copies of games, basically. One of them is Flashback, which I think it's Josh Prod. He's it's a French, I think it's French, publisher of Dreamcast games. He's managed to get the official license from the... Oh, no, I died. He basically managed to get the official license for the game from the original developers, and he's actually remade the game basically for the Dreamcast, recoded it, and... yeah, and it's pretty cool. He's added some extra Dreamcast features in. So there's that game, and there's a couple of other games that are coming out this year for the Dreamcast, and yeah, it's great to see them in the magazine. Yeah, awesome. I can't think of what else we got in. It's kind of hard to think and play a game at the same time, it turns out.
I'll also have a Night Trap review, reviewing that is from Limited Run Games. We also have an extra copy, so we're going to be doing a giveaway of that to coincide with the release of the issue, so more details to come on that. I'm really excited about that, though. So I was really surprised. I was able to snag 2 copies of Night Trap, and it's really tough to get those limited run games because I think there was only 4,000 to 5,000 copies of Night Trap on PS4 that were produced, and I was able to get in. This was the first time I ever bought anything from limited run games, and people, you always see people upset because it's a really hard. Most of the games sell out within seconds from them buying it, just because you have collectors that just want to get every limited run game's release. But I was just sitting at work and I saw that they tweeted about it. I was like, oh yeah, I want to get this. So I clicked the link right when they said it went on sale, and I bought a couple copies, and it was really easy. So I think it's probably beginner's luck on my part, but I bought 2 with the idea that we'd give one away, and I would use the other to review in the magazine. So we're gonna have a Night Trap review. There's a few other reviews I can't remember offhand of newer games that we're going to have. Yakuza Kiwami, we'll have that. Marcin is reviewing that. And then we're working on an interview with a former Sega CEO or Sega of America president. I guess we've announced it on social media, so I can say Bernie Stolar. We're working on an interview with him. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get it done in time for this issue. But I didn't want to promise it, just because if for some reason there's a delay and we can't get it. But we're asking a lot of really interesting questions, and I'm really hoping that this is going to turn out to be a really good interview. We've also opened it up to like fan questions. So we went to Twitter and Facebook and opened it up. We've gotten some really good questions from fans, and we're hoping to get a few of those asked in addition to our own. I'm really excited about that. I've never talked to Bernie Stolar before, and I know he's kind of I guess he's kind of an infamous figure in the Sega history. I mean, he's very polarizing, and a lot of people, blame him for the failure of the Saturn and things like that. But I'm still really interested in talking to him. He's someone that has a big, important history with Sega, for better or for worse. He's now the CEO of Zoom, which is a digital, like a PC video game platform, I guess similar to Steam. And that's what he's working on now. And so I'm interested in hearing more about what he's doing today. And those sorts of things. So I think it's going to be a great issue, and I don't remember ever seeing Sword of Berserk on the cover of a video game magazine, and we are going to do that this issue, and I'm really excited to see what Rob is going to be able to cook up design-wise for that cover. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and I'm really excited about it. I'm definitely going to order a print of that to be able to hang on the wall. I'm really excited. So with that said, I think I'm going to have to wrap it up on my end. You want to stick around and keep playing for a bit, or are you done for the day as well?
I think I could be done.
This guy literally has a third leg, also.
Can I show you a big cannon? Hey, I've done it! That's the area cleared. Okay. If you hang around for one more minute or so, I can wrap up the game. I forgot, how did you save the game? Do we watch this cutscene, or...?
That's a good question.
I remember it's probably an important bit.
So it's a family of Mandragora people that seem to be living in harmony.
Great tree in this village?
And I'm sure we're just going to go and kill everybody.
My demon monk is
Rand.
Are more lively than we are.
It's kind of like Harry Potter, that his scar burns, basically.
Maybe it just has really bad eczema, and that's just the shape of...
Maybe.
He's like, don't touch that plant!
Oh yeah, so... If you read Harry Potter as well, like this is another thing that's... Like, basically, J.K. Rowling didn't invent the mandrake plants. This is actually mythology that when you pull them out of the ground, they scream, they can kill people and stuff.
Forgive me.
Aragorn's like, brr, brr, brr.
Oh, he dared.
Damn it!
Okay, I'll stop the game here. Does it auto-save? I forget if it auto-saves.
I don't know.
Let's find out. Shall I just quit?
Sure.
Oh dear. Quick game. Yes, I would like to quick game. Yes, I will save. Yes. Saving VMU. Excellent. Cool. Awesome. So, yeah.
What are the options really quickly? I'd like to see if there's what options they have at the title screen.
Okay. It contains violent, unsettling images. Only mature to play the game. Nice. I can't skip this bit for some reason. I guess they thought the game was so realistic back in the day they had to put that screen in. Oh, prize box. What's prize box? Oh, there is a gallery.
Oh my gosh. See, that's what I say when I say that when I talk about definites, and I'm always wrong about them.
Okay, I seem to only have one picture.
So click it. That's what it shows.
It's that guy. Done it.
Oh. Is that him and his wife?
I guess
Or his
so.
daughter? I don't know how weird people were back then.
Oh, there's movies. Oh, I can see the cutscene. World? What's World? Ah.
I think this talks about some of the yeah. So this is the like I do remember this. You can read about more of the lore, and so
Fork of Light.
yeah, this is this is a way that I was able to learn more about Berserk, because the game doesn't, like I was saying before, it doesn't really set up any of the background. You start right in the middle of a story, and it doesn't set very much up, and so you can go here and learn more about the lore, some of the backstory, and how you've gotten to this point in the story. So
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
but anyway, I think it's going to wrap it up. I would kind of like to keep playing this, Graham.
Maybe
So
we can continue.
pick it up again some other time. But I think we're going to do some other games that we're going to be covering in this issue.
Yeah.
Maybe next week or so. But we'll definitely be doing some more Sword of the Zerk. In any case, if you don't get to watch more of our mega play of this, you'll definitely see a full review of the game in this next issue of the magazine. Some really exciting stuff. So definitely keep checking back in with us on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to us. Check out the latest issue. Issue 4 is out on newsstands right now. Issue 5 will be coming out later in October. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can, I think it's Megavisions Mag on Twitter, and on Facebook it's just facebook.com/Megavisions. If you want to find out more about the magazine, you can go to our website. It's www.megavisionsmag.com. And I think that's going to do it for another Mega Play, Graham.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do have any ideas for any Mega Plays that you want us to do, then just let us know. You can, via Twitter, Facebook, email as well. I'll put the details in the link of the video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more. More coming this way, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah. Catch you later.
All right. Bye.